Assalamualaikum dan selamat petang. Salam sejahtera kepada semua ahli Fakulti Perubatan UKM. Saya amat berbesar hati kerana dapat menjadi moderator untuk webinar Unit Kualiti dan Strategi Fakulti Perubatan UKM. Dan saya juga amat berbesar hati dapat memperkenalkan panel ataupun penceramah kita pada hari ini, iaitu yang berbahagia Tan Seri Profesor Emeritus Dr. Sharifah Hapsah Syed Hasan Shahabudin. Selamat datang ke webinar yang berbahagia Tan Seri. So Profesor Emeritus Tan Seri Dato Seri Dr. Sharifah Hapsah Syed Hasan Shahabudin merupakan mantan Naib Chancellor UKM yang ke-9. Yang berbahagia Tan Seri berkhidmat sebagai Naib Chancellor UKM selama 7 tahun daripada tahun 2006 sehingga 2013. Profesor Emerita Tan Seri Sharifah Hapsah adalah ahli akademia tersohor yang amat dikenali dalam menggiatkan jaringan antara UKM dan komuniti. Beliau juga merupakan tulang belakang kepada pembangunan program-program di bawah naungan Permata. Beliau terkenal sebagai pejuang kaum wanita bagi kesaksamaan gender, inklusiviti dan advokasi yang membawa kepada peningkatan taraf pendidikan, kesihatan dan ekonomi kaum wanita sejak lebih 30 tahun. Yang berbahagia Tan Seri memegang jawatan yang di-Pertua Majlis Kebangsaan Pertubuhan Wanita Malaysia NCWO semenjak tahun 2000 hingga kini. Yang berbahagia Tan Seri juga cukup dikenali dalam pengurusan pendidikan tinggi, kualiti dan akreditasi yang membawa kepada tertubuhnya Akta Mqa pada tahun 2007. Di peringkat antarabangsa, yang berbahagia Tan Seri pernah dilantik oleh Duli Yang Maha Mulia Seri Paduka Baginda Yang di-Pertuan Agong untuk berkhidmat dengan Suruhanjaya Hak Asasi Manusia Malaysia (SUHAKAM) dan Malaysia Commission for the Integrity of Enforcement Agencies (EAIC). Yang berbahagia Tan Seri juga pernah dilantik sebagai ahli panel penilai bebas Pelan Pembangunan Pendidikan Malaysia. Jaringan serantau dan global yang kukuh dalam isu-isu wanita khasnya memperlihatkan yang berbahagia Tan Seri kerap dijemput sebagai penceramah, penyampai ucap tama, pakar rujuk dan penasihat oleh universiti-universiti tersohor serta badan-badan dunia seperti UNESCO, WHO, ILO serta UN Commission of the Status of Women. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri Sharifah turut dianugerahkan gelaran Tokoh Wanita Sempena Hari Pekerja 2021 yang terbaru oleh pihak Kongres Kesatuan Pekerja-Pekerja dalam Perkhidmatan Awam QPEX. Dan minggu lepas beliau menerima pula anugerah Tokoh Malaysian Service Provider Confederation MSPC atas sumbangan beliau terhadap peningkatan martabat dan pendidikan golongan wanita di negara kita. Dan untuk seminar Intention of the Mqa Act, yang berbahagia Tan Sri adalah seorang yang memang patut kita invite ataupun jemput kerana beliau merupakan she is the founding head of Medical Education Unit and Department UKM from 83 to 1996. She was also the Director Centre Academic Strategic Planning and Development UKM 2006 till 2009. Director Quality Assurance Ministry of Education from 2000 to 2005. Member of Asia Pacific Regional Convention of the Recognition of Qualification from 2000 till 2006. Member of Taskforce on WFME Standards on Basic, Postgraduate and Continuing Medical Education in 2003. Member of Expert Task Force on UNESCO-OECD Guideline on Quality Provision in Cross-Border Higher Education from 2004 till 2005, and Chairperson and CEO National Accreditation Board in January till August 2006, or also known as LAN. And I think after that, we have our MQA in 2007 dan LAN dimansuhkan. So untuk semua participants, as you can see, yang berbahagia, Tan Seri adalah orang yang pakar dalam MQA, dan kita amat berbangga dapat mendengar ceramah yang berbahagia Tan Seri on intentions of the Mqa Act. So Tan Sri, the platform is yours.
Terima kasih. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. Memang background saya dalam quality is sejak dari tahun sejak dari saya join as quality. Actually, it started even in faculty perubatan, when we started doing the work in accreditation. I invited people like Nancy Gary from ECFMG and people from the American Medical Association, which does the accreditation untuk medical program. Masa itu masih saya di fakulti perubatan, and lepas itu bila pergi ke campus, main campus, I still continued with the work on quality assurance for the campus programs as well. I started the quality unit looking at accreditation, and after that baru saya dipindahkan ke kementerian untuk memulakan quality assurance bagi public universities, because we already had LAN di private sector, and then because of that, there evolved a parallel system, satu for public and satu for private. And there were lots of complaints, like especially in the private sector, they were not happy with the way accreditation was done in the private sector. So in the end, Cabinet kata look at how to merge the two systems for accreditation and quality assurance of higher education as a whole. So itulah kerja saya di kementerian untuk mewujudkan satu sistem quality bagi negara ini, dan that was how I started working on the QAD quality, dan saya terlibat dengan all the activities at the international level. Particularly at that time, we were having WTO discussions, and education is a service, and under WTO, the service part, not the product part, not the goods, education as a service is considered as goods, and there were attempts to make sure that when goods cross border, like education services, they comply to some standards. So I was very involved in the WTO discussion as well, and that's how I got involved in a lot of the international activities for quality assurance, together with the Australians, together through WHO and through UNESCO and through OECD. And later on, WHO accepted the WFME guidelines for medicine, and then although UNESCO didn't accept the UNESCO OECD guidelines because they felt it was political in nature, but the Europeans accepted that, and because we benchmark with that, so ours can be considered as equivalent to the OECD guidelines. Okay, can we start the slides? Let me share. Is it this one? Play, Okay. Oh, belum play. Sorry. Okay, kita tak perlu tengok yang bawah tu. Already Ella dah cakap pasal the credentials. So saya bagi title intentions of the Mqa Act because I just want to tell you how it was conceived, the ideas behind it, the principles behind it, rather than to talk to you about how it's being implemented, because that's not that's beyond my scope. You will have to call the Mqa people. And now that I give you the intentions, if you listen to them, you can question them. if whether they are following the act or not following, or whether they have done some amendments or whatever. Yeah. So I want to focus on intentions because that was what I did. Yeah. So what was the overall intention? And that was quality assurance of higher education. Maknanya, when you do quality assurance, we will inspire confidence in higher education, in our higher education, among the stakeholders, yeah, within and outside Malaysia. And this is important for national economic and social development. First, social development for our people and economic development. You need quality, yeah, quality education to produce quality people to grow the economy. Then international reputation, your quality assured, your program, and it will attract students and staff. Yeah? And it's an export revenue. When you have foreign students and investors coming in, it becomes export revenue for us. Yeah, and development of new modes of delivery, distance, branch campus, technology mediated, and so on. Yeah, particularly branch campuses. Then workforce and student mobility will be easier if you have your programs quality assured, and it supports lifelong learning. For the first time, dulu semua orang cakap lifelong learning, but how to implement that, you know? So the quality assurance through the MQF and the quality assurance processes gives meaning to lifelong learning. Yeah, how we can use it to add value and to add to qualifications. Mutual recognition of qualifications across borders. We have mutual recognition. Maknanya you recognize my qualification, I recognize yours based on the quality assurance that we do. Yeah? So it's easier to cross border with your qualifications. And of course, student protection against all these degree mills, road providers, accreditation mills, and so on. Yeah? And also people who provide low quality education. And for the profession, it's safer professional practice. And of course, sovereignty, yeah, in cross-border higher education. If you have standards, when people want to cross your border and provide it in your country, you will say, follow my standards. So that's how you protect your national sovereignty. Yeah? Okay. So basically, the principles of quality assurance is that at the heart of quality assurance is what we call the qualifications framework. In the country, in Malaysia, it's Malaysian Qualifications Framework, so MQF. That's the heart of it, the standards, yeah? And then using the standards, you go outside. Mana arrow? Can I have the arrow to point so that they know? Laser pointer, yeah, okay. So that's the heart, the qualifications framework. And then within the context, we develop this within the context of Malaysia and the processes of quality assurance. You use the framework, do the process, yeah, based on the framework. And all this is internationally benchmarked, yeah, international good practices in QA, we benchmark with that. So that's the role of the MQA. Okay. So how does the Mqa Act increase the stakeholder confidence? Firstly, we have standards of the qualifications according to the level, the discipline at program level, the quality of the delivery, and we also show how the qualification articulates with each other, you know, and how we do credit accumulation, credit transfer, and accreditation of prior experience and learning. This is the lifelong learning part. Yeah? So we apply QA processes using the professional code of ethics. There is a professional code of ethics, you know, in doing the QA process. They must be objective, transparent, fair. If it's these three criteria are not followed, you are not following the code of ethics. So whenever they come round to do your, of course, UKM is self-accrediting now. So every 5 years only they'll come and look at you to do the audit. Yeah. So that you make sure you go through this process, all the standards are always maintained and enhanced, yeah, in line with nationally agreed guidelines and benchmarked with international good practices. When you do that, you measure, you monitor, you maintain, you enhance. Enhancement is done by the institution, by you, somebody else come and measure. You measure internally first, you monitor internally, you maintain, then people come from outside to make sure you are following what you're doing, and there's public reporting. That's how you inspire confidence, because you're transparent and you're objective. Yeah, you do it yourself, and it's just verification, by an external agency like the MQA. So remember, quality assurance is always what you do inside. That's the most important, not what the MQA comes to do to you. That's not important. What you do inside to maintain the standards through your internal processes, that's more important. Yeah, the MQA will just come to verify that you are doing it. And your stakeholders are students, parents, employers, the industry, the profession, and public at large. Okay, when you do properly, when you do your QA process, you get what is called an accredited status. That denotes an institution or a supplier or a program has fulfilled the standards that have been determined. Yeah. So when I say institution, for example, UKM self-accrediting, dia dapat institutional accreditation. Yeah. Dah audit for 5 years. So nobody comes to check you. And you can do your program, your Senate will approve. Make sure the Senate approves. Don't do program without Senate approval. And you can start your program. Yeah. Academic recognition, on the other hand, will be the outcome that enables, once you get accredited, your program gets academic recognition. That means an individual can continue to go on for further studies, or to use the title or the name of the qualification, for example, to apply for a job. Yeah. And the other one will be professional recognition, which allows an individual to enter or practice a profession. And this applies to the medical faculty. The professional recognition is just not just academic, but professional recognition. Yeah. Okay. So what is the MQA Act? It's Act 679, an act to establish the Malaysian Qualifications Agency, or MQA, as the national body. So remember, the Act establishes the MQA. And the MQA does this, implement the Mqf. So Mqf is the heart, you must remember, don't forget the Mqf. It accredits higher educational programs and qualifications, supervise and regulate the quality and standard of higher education providers through an audit, establish and maintain the MQR, or Malaysian Qualifications Register. And this is very important. Your degrees, your qualifications must be in the register, because this register is the national points. Other countries will look at the MQR to see whether your degrees are accredited or not. Yeah. And of course, related matters, I don't have to go into that lah. Banyak benda yang MQA buat lagi. Okay. So just to show you that, it was a lot of work. About 3 years, a task force was developed, established to develop the MQF and draft the MQA bill. This MQF is very important. A lot of consultations, because it's about the framework, it's about the standards. Consultation with various groups, and it should cover all levels of qualifications in higher education, in technical and vocational education. We didn't go into skills because that's done under different ministry. So look, for medicine, for example, these are the people: Malaysian Medical Council, Malaysian Medical Association, Academy of Medicine, College of Family Physicians, the medical schools. They were all consulted. Different workshops, different meetings were held to do the consultation. So very extensive. Yeah. And of course, we were also guided by international good practice. Internationally, countries have got national agency for QA. If you look, different countries will have the Australian QA, New Zealand QA, for example. Yeah? And it becomes a national reference center, which is the MQR. Then this register, because everything is quality assured, it's authentic and credible. Then criteria and standards will be the MQF. Transparent and consensus of stakeholders build the standards. Yeah. And then we have QA processes. We have institutional self-evaluation, very important, based on the agreed standards. To me, this is the most important process, yeah, your self-evaluation. Then an external evaluation by peers, including international experts. Usually we bring in international experts for the institutional audit. But professional programs too, they want international experts, yeah, for the professional programs. Then reporting, publicly accessible, and then quality enhancements actions based on the recommendations done by the institution. Okay, so the Act was passed in 2007 and received the Royal Assent 29th August 2007. And date of enforcement 1st November 2007. And there are 14 parts to the Act, but I just want to talk to you about part 6, which is the MQF. Parts 7 to 10, which will be the quality assurance processes, consisting of provisional accreditation, which has 6 chapters because we have a diversity in the provision, different types of providers that we have. Yeah, so you cannot have one glove fits all. Then we have institutional audit, which UKM underwent when I was VC and we were given self-accrediting status. Evaluation of other qualifications for equivalence, prior learning and credit transfer, and part 11 is the MQR. Let me tell you first about the MQF. It's a national framework of qualifications. In a short while, I'll show you the framework, yeah? The outline. And qualifications are classified by learning outcomes. And remember, learning outcomes are expressions of what students or graduates are expected to be able to do. Do is a word, not know, okay? Do at the end of training. This is about performance, it's about competencies. We have 8 levels. And then we have credits or the academic load expected of the students. And I think MQF punya guidelines, 1 credit is about 40 hours of student academic load. Remember, it's a student load, not lecturer's load. People always count the lecturer's load. We're not interested in your load. You may do 1 hour of lecture, for example, but the students do more than that, you know, they have to prepare, they have to go back and study. So you have to compute that in the student academic load. I know people are very lazy, they don't want to do this, you know, but you have to do. If not, you have 5 professors, they're all loading the students with so much work if you don't compute this, yeah? It used to be like that, you know, so much work given by the lecturers without taking into account the amount of work the students have to do. And then the field or discipline of study, like medicine, engineering, then nature, is it coursework, is it research, is it combined? And then others would be minimum entrance, typical duration, if it's part-time, what is the cumulative duration in full-time equivalent, yeah? So what are the advantages by having the MQF? So we become more accurate and consistent with our nomenclature of the qualifications. When we say this qualification, Bachelor of Medicine, for example, and surgery or MD, we are clear in our mind what it means. Yeah, at what level they're supposed to do, what is covered in that qualification. Yeah, so it becomes a reference point for information about qualifications and guides the curriculum development. provides pathways to unite and link qualifications. Different qualifications can be linked so that people can progress from one to the other. So like, for example, bachelor to master's, that is additional, go higher, right? But you can go across also from skills or from vocational to the degree, to the higher education sector. So that's the pathway. The framework shows you the pathway. And it's used in accreditation to determine the national equivalence. Foreign qualifications, you want to say, where are they in our framework? Yeah. And so we use it also for mutual recognition. And of course, when you have a proper standards, you reduce the fraudulent cross-border education, because you can demand from these people, what is it that you do? Is it the same as our standards? But I want to point out, and I put it in red, this is not rigid, because it can accommodate new qualifications throughout old ones, for example, because you know knowledge grows, yeah, it's not static. And our MQF, when I did it, it was benchmarked with the qualifications framework of the UK. And of course, UK, you have England, Wales, and the Northern Ireland, and Scotland. Itu lain, yeah. So QF UK, QF Australia, New Zealand, and Europe, which is the Bologna process and the EQF, European Qualifications Framework, yeah. Also, we looked at the Lisbon Convention. All this, the European one is accepted by the Lisbon Convention. These are countries covered by UNESCO Europe, and Australia joins them. Then we have also benchmark with discipline or subject benchmarks. Example, the WFME for medicine. For engineering is the Washington Accord. And MQF guidelines are agreed by major national, this one is for accountancy at the UIA, by national stakeholders through multi-level negotiation. So that's how we benchmark. Okay? And this is the pathway I want to show you. So I click somewhere, this one. Okay, these skills are under Ministry of Human Resource, you know, like tailoring, wood making, metal works, you know, those sort of skills. After school cert, they go and do this skills training. But this is covered by the Ministry of Human Resource. Yeah. Then we have another level called vocational and technical, done by the polytechnics, community colleges. And in those days, was supposed to be the college universities, the so-called, I think they are still in existence, you know, like College Tun Hussein on, University Tun Hussein on. Yeah, last time they were called college university, but now they all are called university, I think. Still college university, okay. So technical and vocational, so they go from certificate to diploma and advanced diploma, yeah. Then you have another one called, okay, let me do this one first. Then on this side, the university, from higher school cert, foundation, matriculation, they enter into bachelor degree, master's, and go up to doctoral. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side, the skills and vocational and technical. Then on this side, 6, 7, 8. Academic, yeah, academic. Now, in the middle, you see what is called for the lifelong learning. You see, this can occur, accreditation prior learning can occur throughout for all this. And for this segment, the red one, continuing professional and expert certification. Different from this. This is professional, in practice. There's a profession. And when we first started, it was just graduate certificate and diploma and postgrad cert and diploma. And the way we look at this is to link them. For example, you can go up this way vertically, you go up this way vertically, and you go up this way vertically. But you can also link, you see, from advanced diploma skills, you can go into this diploma. And this advanced diploma, you can also link and get into bachelor degree level. Yeah. And sometimes you may have to do a graduate cert or diploma as in between courses to get into this degree program. Yeah. And you can also link in this bachelor, you can link into postgrad, and you can do also certificate and diploma level, which are short courses, but at the level learning outcome level of the bachelors. For this has to be post-bachelor, yeah, postgrad cert and diploma. And a lot of it happening in education and in medicine. Initially, we wanted to put our training, the master's program, you have finished, and then do this to get your surgical certification or whatever under this box. But the cabinet gave the universities, directed the universities to do the professional training programs, the specialty programs. So somehow the masters got incorporated in this. And so we got a master of surgery, master of which you all have changed to doctor of surgery, doctor of medicine in some universities. But that was because of the cabinet directive to do specialty training in the university. So we have the component, the academic component, when that directive came. Remember, it was way before the MQA, you know, but we already saw that you need to have the academic component of the masters incorporated in the professional degree. So like for the masters of surgery, ENT or whatever, you have a paper, a research paper, which I think is at the master's level, yeah, at the master's level. So it's sitting somewhere here. But truly, those belongs to the continuing professional and expert certification box, yeah. But because we have incorporated the academic component, it looks like it's sitting here, but really it's sitting here, but it's got a very nice master's component. So maybe you've got a master in surgery, plus you get this professional certification, doctor of surgery or master of surgery, whatever you're doing. I'm just giving surgery as an example. Yeah? Okay, so this box is very important. I'm going to talk to you again about this. Yeah. So this is what the framework is like. It consists of skills, vocational and technical. Then you have the academic component here, and you have the professional and expert certification here. Okay, so now I just tell you the level. Bachelor, we know we have the medical degree. Yeah, it's the significant depth. Yeah, and progressively developed to high level and involve maybe completion of a little research project to provide a basis for postgrad study, and to have analytical techniques, and of course we have problem solving skills that can be applied in many types of employment, including in the professional context. Yeah. And these programs require that the faculty have advanced research credentials. The next one is the master's. As I explained to you, historically, in our country, like in the UK, it's separate, you know, because you have the colleges, for example, College of Surgery, College of Medicine, College of Family Physicians, you know, which are doing the certification. But in our country, level 7 also covers the professional practice area, yeah. And you know, they demonstrate this ability, analyze, critically evaluate, integrate new ideas with established knowledge, show originality, creativity, and independence in the application of knowledge. They can tackle complex issues, solve problems. If you put this in a medical context, you can see that the specialist specialty training, the specialist training programs do cover this, and project work or a piece of scholarship or research, yeah, but not depth, yeah, just a little piece of research. And you can do this as coursework or combination, yeah, or research alone. But ours, of course, is combination, yeah. And academic masters about 2 years, and the professional masters 4 years. So you can see now the professional training is coming in, but you also have the academic component, yeah. So the nomenclature can be mastership in the field or doctor in the field, yeah. Sarjana kepakaran bidang or doctor kepakaran bidang. The nomenclature, we don't quarrel, you know, so long as we understand this is the level, yeah. This is the level 7 we are talking about. Then level 8 is different. Level 8 is, sorry, this is in Malay. I got tired of doing it in English. Systematic understanding, but it's deep. It goes deep. You must understand. Level 8 is not superficial understanding. It's deep. Whatever you do, it must be depth, yeah, in a discipline, yeah, and kemahiran dan kaedah penyelidikan berkaitan bidang tersebut. So deep understanding, going deep in the subject, and through research. Research methodology is very important here. That you can design, you can create the ideas, you can design and implement the project, yeah, in the research process, yeah, with academic integrity. It's very important. Research is very important in level 8, and this research is in depth, not the level of the masters that you have, like in surgery and so on. Not like that, yeah. It has to go in depth because you have to make it original, and it progresses, yeah, the boundary of knowledge through dissertation, and you have to bentang this, and you have to defend this, yeah. So the standards are very high, and you publish. So this is level 8. So it is not your specialty training is not this. Please remember, this is PhD level, this level 8, yeah. So this is what we do, and after that, of course, in the learning outcomes, you have to do all these other things, you know, communicate and promote academic and professional advancement, and be involved in masyarakat and so on. Now, PhD is not credit rated, and it cannot be achieved by accumulation of credit. So remember, please remember, because a lot of you are confused, you know, you want to say you are level 8. Cannot be, because this is research based, and you go in depth. You can be level 8 to do, if you extend a bit and you do your PhD. Not don't do the master's level punya research, but do at the level of the PhD. So you can come up with your surgery specialty training plus the PhD. But I tell you, it's going to extend your program, yeah? So whether you want to do it, or you do it separately later, go and do PhD. A lot of us do that. I did that. You know, do your PhD separately, yeah? Okay, so you have learning outcomes. Remember, framework is based on learning outcomes. First, you have the qualification level. I've explained to you, certificate, diploma, bachelor, or graduate certificate, which is at the level of the bachelor, or diploma, which is the difference is only by the credits. Then you have the master's, and postgrad certificate diploma is at the level of the master's, yeah. Then you have the doctorate, yeah, doctorate. Then you have field. This field must be by consensus of the experts in the field, because the fields are growing so fast, yeah. So depending on the growth of knowledge and the needs of the country. Then the program will be at the institutional level, and you award the qualifications, example major, minor, or specialization, yeah. So I want to tell you a bit about learning outcomes. So there are different, about 8 areas, you know, of learning outcomes. Then you have first the knowledge. Then you have the psychomotor or practical skills or technical skills. Then you must not forget social skills and responsibility, particularly in medicine, you know, professionalism, values, attitudes, ethics. These 4 components are then inside the circle, which touches on all this, will be teamwork, team skills, ability to communicate, then managerial, entrepreneurial skills. Because a lot of you are going to go into private practice, so it's good to have this critical thinking, scientific approach, or problem solving. So it's not just about knowledge, but it's also about cognitive ability. Yeah, this is very important. It's problem solving here and decision making. And then the lifelong learning and information management. So these are the 8 areas of learning outcomes. You must do learning outcomes in all these 8 areas. Kalau tidak, your program tak complete. I know a lot of you are doing this part only and this part. Then you forget about this part. Maybe a little bit here. Don't pay attention to it. Okay, knowledge you all know. Yeah, so don't need to talk about it. Even the application. And when you test, I notice, you know, a lot of it is like around here only. Very, very few go up to higher levels of the application of knowledge. Yeah. So you must make sure you cover when you assess students. Don't just ask them this, you know. A lot of you are doing this, you know. You must show them differences between concepts, between principles, you know, and then you get them, put them in new situations and ask them to talk about it, explain it, infer causes or effects, you know, predict outcomes. These are all very important ability. In fact, we put all of them and under problem solving in learning, and problem solving is the basis for lifelong learning. If you don't master problem solving, forget about lifelong learning, okay? And what is problem solving? Problem solving has a definite process. I think the people in medical education can teach you this very well. In problem solving, you must generate hypotheses. When you see you're swamped by something, you must generate hypotheses. You see a few symptoms together or something, you say, oh, this could be this, that. Then you ask more questions, right? So you're getting information from history, for example, that or from physical examination or from the lab. Then you identify gaps in your own knowledge, skills, and values. You identify type of sources of information. If you don't know, then you go and get, you either through, of course, we ask history, physical examination, so, but sometimes you have to go and read up about the areas that you're not sure to solve the problem. Yeah, so you collect all this data. Some of them are new information to you. Put them together. You have to evaluate the new info. Nowadays, all the vaccines, see how we have to evaluate. So much coming down, like rubbish down the YouTube and the internet, you know. So make sure that we collect it properly, know how to evaluate it, evidence-based, put the data together because they're coming from different sources, you know, from experts, from books, from internet, and apply, and from the labs, for example, and from the patient themselves, yeah, from history and physical examination. Put this together and apply the probability theory, you know, and evidence. You refine your original hypothesis, use your judgment, because what you already know and what you newly know, put that together to solve the problem and make the decisions. What is the diagnosis? What is the treatment? How do I manage this patient? So this is what is called problem-solving process in the learning process. Yeah. Technical skills also, I don't need to tell you, you know, this is not technical lah. Macam mana ni? Tak nampak. Can I see what is the title of my slide? I think this is psychomotor skills. Anyway, Psychomotor skills are your practical skills. You do physical examination, you do procedures. These are the practical skills. And you know it's okay. You know, you need to do the skills. Don't just go in without the knowledge. And when you do skills, be aware of your physical, social, cultural, and psychological and ethical factors have to be factored in. And use your human resources properly. Okay, the next one will be social skills. You know, because we have cultural diversity and beliefs, you need to demonstrate understanding and sensitivity to this. It's very important. Sometimes we forget, you know, different people have different beliefs. And we need to respect this when we're examining them, for example, asking them for history, to participate in community well-being, community ends, in alleviating medical problems, and to accept leadership when you need to in community issues. Sometimes we have to. Attitudes and behavior, professional, sometimes people forget this. That's why I'm going to go through. A set of shared values, you know, which we have. Like in the faculty, we have our values, right? Faculty values. This is shared, but you must commit yourself to these values. Whether it's integrity, honesty, you know, you must commit to it and practice it. The autonomy to enforce these values, and nobody can ask you to violate these values. You know, you should not go against this, and if people ask you to go against this, you must protect these values. So you promote, protect, and enhance the values for the benefit of consumers, the profession, yourself, and society at large. It's not for your own self. It's for your patients. Okay. Yes, I continue. Ethical, legal, and personal responsibilities. You know, you have to uphold this. You know, when you do documentation, you must uphold the confidentiality, ownership of intellectual property, no plagiarism. Oh, this is so common. I hear so many complaints. You know, be careful, especially when you're writing papers, publishing, you know. IP and plagiarism, these are all bad things, shouldn't be happening in the faculty. Evidence-based and moral reasoning when you or when you have conflicts, and you know there are lots of conflicts in medicine. You know, the use of technology, commercialization of your innovations, and the moral reasoning are very important. When you have so much money only, you know, how do you allocate your resources, for example? So you must apply evidence-based and moral reasoning. We all quarrel, you know, we say, we buy vaccines, you know, and what do we do with those vaccines? You know, the moral reasoning. And recently we have Sinovac brought in, they approve, but yet that Sinovac can be sold, for example. Why is it not given to the public? These are the kind of moral reasoning. Demonstrate commitment to excellence, altruism, responsibility, compassion. All these are very important in your ethics and behavior. Again, you must know your personal limitation. This is very important. A lot of people do not know. They just go in gung-ho and do whatever they want to do. Tak boleh. If your level, your first year resident ke second year resident, don't try go and do what a specialist who have had 10 years experience can do. No, you must know your personal limitation so that you can regulate yourself, you know, for continuous improvement. You know what you do not know, you go and improve yourself, and adapt to change. But doctors in particular, self-care, manage time and cope with stress. A lot of you don't do this, you know, and you are burnt out. I saw in COVID a lot of burnt out. The nurses, the doctors, they're all burnt out. Of course, this was imposed a lot, but there must be this ability to self-care, counseling, help each other. And of course, you forge your relationships based on respect of diversity, which is cultural, beliefs, and individuals' autonomy. You must respect, you know, people have their autonomy and welfare. You cannot violate their autonomy. Yeah? Okay. Don't ask personal questions, too personal, for example. Yeah? And communication skills, yeah, sensitive to personal and cultural factors, you have to for effective communication. If not, if you're not sensitive to this, your communication is not effective, you know. So to your peers, your supervisors, members of the work team, your colleagues, public, don't look down on others, you know. I find there's so many clever people, but they don't know how to talk, you know, to each other. They don't know how to talk to their peers, you know. Pandai sendiri, you know. You have to be sensitive, yeah. And know yourself. I used to be very bad when I was younger, you know. Oh, don't take into consideration people. As you grow older, you become more sensitive. So listen more, and talk less. Okay. Attentive, yeah, because you need to elicit information rather than talk to others. You need to understand people, yeah, to make your plan of action. What is achievable, what is not achievable, you know. Interact for in your team. Teach others. This is the best way to learn, is to teach others. Write effectively, maintain good records, and present information appropriate to the needs of the audience, yeah, at the level of the audience. Don't go higher than that. That's all in communication skills. Now, I want to do the ICT and the lifelong learning. ICT is now so important. See, I sometimes not so good, no. That's why Dayang is sitting next to me now. She's teaching me, making sure I'm using the right icons and so on. But understanding the limitations of information, yeah? Especially now, a lot of disinformation coming down through the internet. So you must be able to search, collect, and organize and interpret information from different sources, different databases, yeah. And your records of your practice you should keep, because you can use your records for analysis and improvements. This part here, I'm already coming down to continuing and lifelong education. If you keep a record of your practice, you can analyze where you go wrong, especially when you do with a friend. For example, you discuss your patients, and your patient, your friend can ask your peer, for example, can ask you, why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? Isn't there another alternative? So that you can analyze and improve, yeah, by learning from each other. But you learn from your patient records. And you want to participate in change. Don't just be static. Reflect. You do this by reflecting on your own limitations. You self-assess. If people evaluate you, you accept their evaluation. And from there, you undertake continuous self-directed study. Yeah? And you manage your knowledge for continuing education, for problem solving and decision making. So this is when you learn how to manage information, particularly in the use of ICT and other resources, you can participate in lifelong learning, which is part of the learning skills. I went backwards. Then managerial and entrepreneurial. Principles of organizational and business management, financing, cost containment measures. Some of these go into postgrad teaching, but I think, like for example, in community health, they do. So in medical education, even at the undergrad level, you already have some of this. Yeah? I think is done by community health, because public health does this. Yeah. Then looking at global trends, understanding that, because the impact of migration on health, environment and trade on health, equity, understanding access, effectiveness and quality, and use of national, regional and local data for decision making. These are all part of managerial and entrepreneurial skills. Okay, so that's the qualifications framework part. Yeah, I went through your learning outcomes quite extensively. Now we come to the processes. So you have the standards. The next thing will be, what are the processes we go through to say you're accredited? Yeah. So the Mqa Act considers application by higher education providers. These are body, corporate or organizations or other body of persons which conduct higher education or training programs, including skills training, leading to the award of a higher education qualification, or which awards a higher education qualification and includes public or private higher education providers, examination or certification bodies, or their branch representatives. Now, this part is important, because we have these colleges, they come here and I don't know who is their branch representative. Is it Ministry of Health? Is it another body? I know, for example, there's the European Board of Pediatric Surgery. European Board of Pediatric Surgery has UKM as their branch representative. So if UKM wants to get this accredited, it can be done through the UKM with the Mqa. Yeah. So examination or certification body means anybody within or outside Malaysia certified by the minister charged with responsibility for higher education by the order published in the Gazette, which affirms that a student has achieved the learning outcome. So they also need to be gazetted. So I don't know whether working with UKM is already approved by the minister. So we need to look at this. If we do things legally, then it becomes very easy. Yeah? Branch representative, for example, they have to be established under a written law for the purpose of representing an examination or certification body. Yeah, so macam kalau kat UKM, kalau tengok UKM punya constitution, can the UKM do this under the constitution? So you don't need to go to the minister. It is already in the UKM constitution. Okay, let's go on. Okay, so the QA process, don't get confused. The first part is actually the Ministry of Education. For the approval, the institution must be approved and established. Yeah, they get a license and they go and do an inspection, and they also have enforcement if you don't follow the criteria set up by the ministry. And it's not just higher education, there's also Culture and Heritage Act, the Education Act of the ministry, and the AUKU and the IPTS Act. Okay, this part here is covered by the Mqa Act. Yeah, institutional audit. When you submit, they go and see, make sure that you are capable of conducting the course. Yeah, they do the institutional audit for delivery to make sure that everything is placed. You have the teachers, you have the facilities, and so on. Yeah. Then the program accreditation, the other part. First is the provisional accreditation. After that is the full accreditation. Provisional, you're given license to start the program, and before the program ends, before the final year students come out, I think before the final year of the program, you go for full accreditation, and if you're accredited, you go into the register. So you must comply to the QA Code of Practice and the Mqf. Yeah. So this is also benchmarked. Not just the Mqf was benchmarked, even the processes were benchmarked with QA agencies in other countries. The international network of QA agencies in higher education, or we call it INQA, accreditation process of professional programs like the medical GMC, the accreditation processes, like in the US, it is the AMA. Then for UNESCO-OECD guidelines on quality assurance of cross-border education, and the UNESCO Convention for the Asia Pacific. Yeah, we benchmark the processes. Yeah. So in the Mqa Act, because we have a diversity in the delivery of the programs, we have 6 chapters. Yeah, and one of the chapters will be for professional programs and professional qualifications. I don't have to go through the other 5 for you. Yeah. So professional programs are considered by the Joint Technical Committee, which will be in medicine will be appointed by MMC, but will have MQA reps. Yeah. Appointment is by MMC, you know. Remember that, no? The chairman of the MMC must appoint and let the MMC approve the members. Yeah, don't just appoint the chairman. I don't know whether, what is it? Chairman is the KP. KP cannot just appoint just like that. He has to take it to the MMC and approved by MMC. Yeah. So you know the Medical Act has 2 evaluation committees. One is for basic and one is for specialist medical qualifications. This is under Section 4E of the Medical Act, Amendment Act 2012, Section 7(3) of the first schedule of the Medical Act. And the registration procedures and guidelines of the evaluation committee state that the chairman and members are appointed for 3 years by the MMC. So these are the decisions they can make. And these are all in the Mqa Act. You must remember, everything that's done by this committee is done under the Mqa Act, not MMC. MMC is named as the body to implement what is in the Mqa Act. Get this straight. People always get confused. Yeah, it's under the Mqa Act, and it's there in the Mqa Act, in the amended MMC Act. It says that it will do the evaluation, do the accreditation subject to the Mqa Act. So the decisions will be, can refuse accreditation, you state the grounds, you grant accreditation, impose conditions for accreditation, or revoke. When you have given accreditation, you can also revoke it. Yeah, but final decision is always made by MMC. We leave it to the professional body to say yes or no, to make all these decisions. Yeah, but this decision is conveyed to the Mqa, and then the Mqa enters it into the register. Okay, you understand the process? So for medicine, for postgraduate, there is the evaluation committee will be assisted by specialty subcommittees. Now, early on, as early as 1984, the conjoined board for postgrad medical education was established. And I must give credit to Dato Dr. Mahmud, you know, he was the one who set it up. And the secretariat was at the Ministry of Education at that time. So this board was set up, and these were the representatives, the universities, the Ministry of Health, and the Academy of Medicine. So the board, the conjoined committee, main committee, and then the specialties formed under the conjoined committee. And their task will be to develop the standards, select students, oversee the training, and conduct conjoined examination. When they do this, the results which are done by this committee go back to each faculty and go through the Senate. Please remember that. Huh? The autonomy of the Senate, the university, you cannot violate. You still have the Senate. Yeah, this is not enough to say the conjoined board dah setuju. Conjoined board punya results must go through the faculty and go to the Senate. And that's the end of the story after the Senate has given the approval. Yeah. So please remember your academic punya process. Don't just stop at the conjoined board. Yeah. We are not like other countries. We have our own history and our own way of doing things. Okay, so dalam quality assurance, there are 9 aspects. Yeah. And I think a lot of you only focus on learning outcomes, program design and delivery. But actually vision, mission and institutional goals, that's the first thing they look at. Then student selection is very important. Student selection, how you do it, your criteria, and what kind of support services do you give to your students? For example, if you have foreign students, what kind of support services do you give? We look into that as well. Evaluation system, then the academic staff, the learning resources, the library, your internet, your computer, all those resources, are that enough? Program evaluation, this student evaluation will be your exams. Program evaluation is how do you evaluate whether your program is doing well or not. Then leadership, governance and admin, very important, because this collapse, everything else collapse, Leadership is very important in quality assurance and continuous quality enhancement. How do you do that? When you do your program evaluation, is it tied to your quality enhancement? Reports of the QA, is it tied to your quality enhancement? Yeah, we want to see how this is done. So in other words, quality assurance is a whole experience. It's not just about MQF learning outcomes. It's a total learning experience. And this is coming, say, from the time the student is admitted to the time the student, do you graduation, look at all the influences, the cultural, your cultural milieu of the institution, sports, residential colleges, how are the students, how do they impact on the students, your co-curricular activities, the peers that you have and your curriculum. So it's not just about curriculum and your faculty, which is this, but the total learning experience. That's what we are looking at. Oh, academic staff. I cannot see on my screen. I think academic staff, administrators, yeah? All of them will impact on the students. So if I put this in this way, so what we have is the vision and the institutional, the mission and the goals will impact on your learning outcomes, your teaching and learning outcomes. The vision will shape your learning outcomes, okay? And your learning outcomes will then impact on the design of the program, the kind of learning outcomes you make, and you must cover all the 8 areas, remember, will determine the design. So the content and the structure, the teaching learning methods, the assessment methods, what other experiences do you give to your students, community engagement and so on. So when the students come in, they go through this. Hopefully when they graduate, all this have gone on to them. And what do we have to support this? Your continuous quality management, the governance structure, the administration of resources, to design, deliver, monitor, and enhance your programs. And these are all your resources, your entry criteria, student support services, your academic faculty, admin staff, support staff, physical facilities, money, ICT, community and stakeholder engagement, research and links to research, and the research links to education. Okay, so can you see it's a total institutional support. It's not just about learning outcomes. So the educational setting, remember, you have independent learning, learning online, classroom, lab, fieldwork, co-curriculum, the wards for medicine, industry, others, from theory to practical, pen and paper, simulations to real situation. Of course, simulation is becoming more important now, with COVID and all that. We're using a lot of simulations. If you want to learn how to train simulated patients, you can engage me as consultant. I teach you how to do. It's a whole area by itself, not easy. Okay. Once everything is done, you are registered, you are accredited, so you go into the MQR. This is a national reference point for standards and articulation point for all accredited programs and qualifications. is on the MQA website. So it will facilitate cross-border recognition, enhance mobility, both for students and for the workforce, and of course, student protection. Yeah. Okay, I want to come to this. Now, after I've shared with you, I understand there's a lot of problems, you all are faced with, and you all are confused about level 8 and so on. So I just want to focus on this specialty education and training, the post-basic medical qualifications. And you see all these parallel programs, proliferation of training for foreign qualifications, not quality assured, but they are recognized, So there's issue of quality, comparability, and equivalence. So actually, there's a kind of double standards going on now in specialty training. Why is this happening? I feel there's no proper classification of specialty qualifications. So we need to relook at qualifications framework and focus on the continuing professional development segment for certification. Let's just go there. You see this part here? Now forget about all this. This continuing professional and expert certification. I talked to you about postgraduate diploma. Let's put all of them up. Okay. So this part here is not well developed. This is where the professional courses like engineering, accountancy, they have a lot of programs going on. And there are lots of colleges and private sector, or professional bodies conducting examination, conducting courses like ACCA, Board of Engineers. MMC doesn't conduct, but MMC has the CPD points, which probably we can look at now to see whether we can give certificates, and they carry this for credit transfer and so on. So there's a lot, and in medicine, we have not developed this well. There is a national NSR, specialist register, but it's for registering specialists. But there can be a lot of work that we can do with the NSR and with the colleges, the specialist colleges, to develop this part of the framework, and to include accreditation of prior learning and experience, or APEL, and CME, or continuing medical education. Put it together and let's see how we can develop this. Okay. We have already in the framework what we call graduate, certificate, and diploma. These are short courses, but the competency is the level of the bachelor. Yeah, and the difference between CGIL and diploma is just the credits. Yeah, so these are like, for example, you have courses on HIV/AIDS, or now maybe COVID, at the level of bachelor, but these are additional short courses which medical practitioners can take, and you can give them credits. Yeah, at certificate, you give them a certificate, or if it's longer, you give them a diploma, but it's at the level of Sarjana Muda, not advanced. You can give these courses to even the medical students. Yeah, that's what it means. This certificate can also be used if you want to change bidang. Some people, they are law graduates, but they want to become teachers. Then they take these short courses to become teachers. Yeah, or credit transfer to enter a higher program like diploma, skills, or vocational. They want to go and do a bachelor. So these are the users of this tahap. Yeah, and but it doesn't matter what your background is. You can do this, and right up to tahap kedoktoran, you can also do all these courses. Yeah, even if you have masters, you can still come and take courses at this level. Even if you are a specialist, you can still come and take these courses. Yeah. Okay, so the other one is postgrad. This one you must have. You must have Sarjana Muda. Yeah, or equivalent. Yeah, to do these courses. And they are advanced courses or specialized courses. And I was thinking more of like your credentialing of procedures done, which are advanced procedures. Maybe they come under this postgrad. Short ones, you can give them a sigil, or if it's longer, you give them a diploma, depending on the credits. They are more professional in nature, and maybe you want to recognize them as a pakar or somebody competent in doing something. Yeah. So here I give the example, maybe credentialing or pakar dalam sub bidang, or you know, something like that. Yeah. So let's see how we can use this. Yeah. Now, this area that I call professional and expert certification, the red area, we still lack the professional consensus on development of specialty pathways. How do you progress from one to the other? For example, I'll give you an example later. And no proper classification of the specialty nomenclature based on learning outcomes and credits. Yeah, we need to work with the specialty colleges and the NSR on this. Lack of understanding of method of articulation. How do you accumulate credits and transfer? And how do you recognize prior learning? Like somebody may have done some courses, and how do you transfer this, you know, or the experience? They've got experience in doing some procedures, but they were never certified, but they've got the experience, they can show you, and this is under APEL. Yeah. So I'm giving you surgery because you know why lah, kan? Dato can help me with this. So I give you an example from a surgical discipline. How can we use that red box to develop a framework, say for the surgical disciplines, yeah? Learning outcomes and curriculum design, for example. This, I give you an example, doesn't mean it's like this, yeah? So there must be something that's common to all surgical-based qualifications, some learning outcomes that are common. Then there are learning outcomes which differentiate into basic disciplines. For example, general surgery, ENT, trauma and auto, emergency medicine, ophthalmology, etc., etc., etc. And then out of this basic, there are also subspecialty training. Example, vascular, colorectal, breast, endocrine. They need to have something here first before they can go there. Yeah. And then on top of that, you can do credentialing. And credentialing can be for procedures, example, non-invasive techniques. And this is applicable to all disciplines. Somebody in emergency, in ophthalmology, you want to do credentialing in non-invasive pun boleh. Yeah. Okay, so how do I do this? I tried to think about it this morning. This is today's work, okay? Example of a framework. So I have a common LO and learning outcomes and curriculum design, which is a basic surgical curriculum. Okay. Then differentiated basic discipline learning outcomes. Then there's a general surgery. Then maybe trauma and orthopedic. Yeah. So maybe here 2 years, maybe another 2 years here. So 4 years for general surgery. Maybe 2 or 1.5 or 2 or whatever, and then another 1.5 or 2 here. Then you get trauma and orthopedic. And this is what we are doing now. We call them in UKM Doctor of Surgery, Doctor of Orthopedic Surgery, something like that. Yeah? Then what happens now? The discipline is growing and growing and growing, and people are specializing, you know. So you need further training, you know. So here you have already like 4, for example, including this 4. So maybe here 2 to 3, breast and endocrine, colorectal, hepatobiliary. You cannot jump, say, from here to hepatobiliary, right? You need to get this and go here, according to me, but maybe it's different. I do not know. Then thoracic, vascular, and under trauma, orthopedic, look, spine, arthroplasty, upper limb, microsurgery, arthroscopy, and sports surgery, pediatric orthopedics, foot and ankle. They're going to keep on specializing, okay? I haven't even done for the others. So we need to do some kind of a framework like this. so that people can work out what would be the learning outcomes for this, the duration, how is the training to be done. Yeah, so that's a framework. Now, credentialing is slightly different. People, anything get new skills or upgrading of skills, you might want to give a certificate or a diploma for this, or you transfer credit. They can show they have done it, they have got the experience, and you do the accreditation of prior experience and learning, and then you give them the certificate. Maybe with that experience plus some additional training where they're missing, at the end they can give a certificate. So this is how I envisage a kind of qualifications framework, say for surgery. Then you may need to do for medicine. Then maybe you need to do for diagnostic services. I'm not sure how we want to divide that red block into surgery, into medicine, into diagnostic, into therapeutic, maybe, you know. So let's think about this. I think we are not thinking about it at the moment. And this is where our energy needs to go into. I think we are past the basic medical education, you know. We need to work now on the specialty, the training, because this is where the growth is. The growth is in this area. And with technology, you're going to get more and more. No, I haven't even added the technology-based disciplines. The use of robotics, the use of IT, information, medical informatics, they all come under this, you know. So we need to have broad ones first, broad areas here, and then break up into the sub, yeah. So we need, when you have broad ones, you need to have common. Like I put basic surgical, the next one could be basic medical, basic diagnostic, basic therapeutic, or whatever, yeah. So we need to work out what this is like. So that's my thinking for today. I want to conclude that accreditation must keep up with growth of knowledge in the professional disciplines, not just at the basic, but I think at the specialty level. And the standards must be set with the industry or the profession. And in our case, it's a profession, it's the specialty colleges. Yeah? The profession must be responsible for the classification and nomenclature of specialties in a systematic way. You must have a framework, yeah? Learning outcomes, the discipline, duration, nature of studies, etc. We need to put this in a very systematic way so that people know, if you're a cardiothoracic surgeon, where are you? Can you specialize in more things, you know? And allow for flexibility in lifelong learning, credentialing, credit transfer, and accreditation of prior experience and learning. So that's all I have for now. Thank you very much.